Hey everybody, Gizmo here. I've got my Irish cream. Hopefully you've got something too. Welcome to Team Gizmo. We're playing some Civilization 6 today. Just came out on Macintosh in the last month, and I wanted to show you guys a little bit about how the game is structured, the changes from previous civilizations to this one. There's quite a few, so let's go ahead and buckle in and we'll see what we got going on with this version. First off, I'm going to be playing, it's going to be a bit disjointed because I don't want to show you guys me playing the whole bloody game because that would just be god-awfully boring. Instead, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the initial moves here, maybe about 10-15 minutes of just gameplay, see how that all plays out. And then afterwards, I'll go ahead and skip around, show you the new districting system, which is completely changed. And we're going to be doing some other things around resources, that kind of stuff. I'm going to show you that stuff as it happens. Also explain a little bit about how technologies have changed, and then the introduction of this concept of civics, which is a whole new way of exploring particularly governments within Civ. So it's very different. It should be interesting to see. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Went ahead and set up a new game as the Aztecs. It's one of the DLCs that you can get for the game. I pre-ordered, so I ended up getting the Aztec DLC as part of my pre-order. But the first thing we're going to want to do, obviously, is click on our settler. There's click. And then I'm going to go ahead and found a city because you don't want to waste any time. There we go. So you have Technochtitlan, and we're going to choose our production. And our production, we're going to pick a scout because we want to find out what's around us, right? Yep, absolutely. Okay, so now we're going to take some research, and I'm going to show you the technology tree here real quick. So again, a lot of the governmental stuff, things like communism, fascism, democracy, those have been pulled out into a separate tree, and we'll look at that in a second. But this one is going to be all the technologies that we can get. So right now we are researching nothing, so we need to get something. I'm thinking pottery or animal husbandry is probably a pretty good idea. Let's go pottery first. We'll try that. And then what we'll do is we will figure out how we're going to go based upon what our resources look like. I do know that we have some milk, i.e. cattle nearby, so we're probably going to want to have animal husbandry as our second one. So I'll go ahead and select that for now. And then I'm going to cancel out of this. And now we're going to go over to our civics. Now we're already researching Code of Laws. And Code of Laws is going to be the first civic that you need to research in order to get anything. At that point, we get to have government policies. Now, how this has changed. As a chiefdom, and we can look at our government, not yet, but we will, you can see we've got a couple of things that we can get here that are called policies. Now, you can have three different kinds of policies. You can have military policies, economic policies, and diplomatic policies. And so you can really customize how your civilization is going to work based upon the technologies and the civics that you pick, the policies that you're going to select. So for instance, we have discipline right here, which gives us combat strength and fighting barbarians. Yay, yes. We also have survey, so we can double experienced recon units. Really helpful for those scouts. We have the God King economic policy, which gives us +1 faith and +1 gold. Ooh, faith, whole brand new thing that they've added. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then urban planning, which gives us a little bit more production in our cities. It can be really handy to have that. So we have 15 turns before we get that. But then we'll be able to begin to enact some of these policies and begin to again, tweak and customize our government based upon the policies we pick. And the other thing you'll see over here is like for craftsmanship, there's a thing here it says, you can look at this, it's like sort of half of that circle's taken up. And that's called a boost. And those exist for technologies as well. So for instance, in this one, craftsmanship, in order to boost it, we have to improve 3 tiles. So if we get a builder and we go out and we improve 3 tiles, then we will take half of the time off the investment required for this particular civic before we have to get it. So like villages used to give you just basic technologies in the past, potentially. Suddenly you know archery now. They won't do that. They'll give you a boost towards something, but they won't give you an outright give you a policy or a technology. You'll have to earn those. So it's a different change from how previous civs have worked. All right, so we've got our Eagle Warriors here, which is our slightly better than normal warriors. And so they're going to go, ooh. So now you've got an inspiration here. This is that boost that we get to some of these things. So having discovered another continent, we realize there's a wide world of trading opportunities. So we progressed in foreign trade. You can see here it filled up half of that circle. So our requirements in order to get foreign trade have been halved. And I'll show you that. So it says boosted here, continue. If I come back into here, and open the Civics tree, you'll see now instead of 30 turns, which it is for craftsmanship, foreign tree is only going to take us 15 turns. So again, that's that boost, and there's different things that you can get that are going to give you the ability to have these boosts to your particular civics or to your technologies. All right. So, oh, and we found ourselves a little village somewhere. Where's that village? Oh, it's over there, maybe? There we go. Tribal village found. Oh, right there. Okay, never mind. I'm just blind. Okay, oh, and I'll show you this real quick. So here's this. This will tell you this continent is Mu, and this continent over here is still Mu, but this continent over here is Mu. Was this continent different? That is still Mu. So where's this other continent? Where did you... over there. There we go. Now, by clicking on that little link on the side, I have opened up what's called lenses. And lenses give you different ways of looking at the map. So you can get a feel for sort of the lay of the land, but from different perspectives. So in this particular one, we have continent as a perspective. So we're seeing continent here. We have, that's Rodinia is another continent that we apparently have found. We can also look at appeal. And appeal will tell us how exciting some place is. That one is breathtaking. Okay, that's not very nice. And then we've got some, some charming ones in here that are 3s. Appeal for the tiles is going to impact when you start building districts and residences. Well, that's a much later concept. We'll get into that in a future video. I'll try to put it down at the bottom for you guys to see, but it'll be there. We also can look at the lens of the settler, and this will tell us where would be good places for us to build. So over here we can see that we're still within the sphere of influence of Technochtitlan, so we can't build anything here. We're too close to a city. But over here would be a really good place to build. In fact, it has fresh water access, so it's +3 housing. Oh, housing. Okay, yes, there's a whole new set of things. Rather than population affecting different things the way it has in previous Civ games, you now have problems associated with having too many people with not enough housing available. So some of the districts that you can build and some of the improvements in those districts, instead of everything being in the city, you now have districts where you can build up those different things. So you might have a military district where it's an encampment, and where you might have a barracks there and stables, that kind of stuff. All the military buildings would be based there. And when you spawn new units, that's where they'll come out instead of in the capital or in the city itself, which is really could potentially be very tactical for how you want to create new units. The more housing it has sort of by default, and you can improve upon that as you go. But having fresh water obviously is going to give you the most access to stuff. Having coastal water will give you +1 housing. So if you're on a coast or you're near just near salt water, then you're going to have that +1. Fresh water will give you +3. A lot of benefit there. We also have governments. Who's got what kinds of governments? We can look at that lens, which right now just shows us, and this is the kind of government we have, and we are a chiefdom. Political, here's showing us, and then tourism. Now tourism is a way to win a cultural victory, and by making wonders and improving tiles and stuff, you can draw visitors from other civilizations to your civilization, and you get benefits from having that. But you also, if you get enough of it, you can actually end up winning the game through a culture victory. Based upon that, which is a very different thing as well. You can also get access to the lenses just by clicking on this. Now, one thing you'll notice that I do sometimes, because I've turned on scroll to edges, moves the map, is I'll sometimes move my mouse over into this little area here near the arrow, simply because nothing pops up when it's there. So if I'm out over here and I've just got my mouse hovering, then suddenly I get a pop-up telling me about that tile, which is really good, but I don't need it all the time, and I certainly don't want it in between turns. So it's blocking a big chunk of the map. So instead I just move my mouse over here, and then nothing pops up, and the map is clear. I can see exactly what's going on, which is can be really handy. So, alrighty, now let's going to move on. We've got our next turn. Cheers. All right. Other players are playing. Aha! Okay, now we got our Eagle Warrior. Where are we going to go? Let's go onto this hill, because this will let us see other stuff. Okay. So just like in other games, hills will give you more visibility. You can't walk in mountains, that kind of stuff. You do have a certain number of movement points. You'll see here they've got 2 movement points. So certain activities take a certain number of movement points. Moving across a river, though, pretty much consumes all the movement points for that unit. So even if it's a scout unit that has 3 movement points, moving across a river will consume all 3. So then you can't just like move across a river and then move another space. You pretty much move across a river and you're stuck, which is a little disappointing, but you know, that's okay. All right, and you can see here we've got our scout building. I don't know if you can see this very well, but it's a little doggy. The scout actually is a man and his dog. It's kind of cute. I just think of Don Johnson when I think of a boy and his dog. But so we got 7 turns, so we make that. We're making 5.2 gold per turn. 5.2? I mean, okay, you know, I don't know. And with 2.8 science and 1.4 culture, some interesting decisions from a gameplay perspective. I'm not really sure exactly what they decided to do here and why, but they've opted to go with decimals. So sometimes that can be useful. It just seems a little, I don't know, it's a little too much information. Why bother? You know, if I've 1 or I've got 2 or I've got 5, I don't know. It seems like a level of detail that was unnecessary. But you know, there you are. All right, drink. Oh, and I don't know if you can't really see it, but there's actually a TARDIS ice cube in here, so which is kind of cool. I gotta say, I was very happy to get those.
As it turns out, no, Kilimanjaro is not Wi-Fi enabled, so I had to spend 2 weeks in Tanzania talking to the people on my trip.
Okay. So that was an awesome quote. And you also probably recognize Sean Bean's voice. So Sean Bean does all of the narration for this, which is really, really cool. I love Sean Bean. Guy's fantastic. I wish we would stop killing him off. But anyway, it's just nice to hear him doing things. I'm happy that he's still getting a lot of work. So, all right. So, hey, we got a Eureka moment. So this is the boost from the technology perspective. So because we discovered a natural wonder, it has inspired our people with the majesty of the universe. Our astrology has been advanced. This is fantastic. So now, if I click in here and I open the technology tree, you'll see astrology is half filled. So it says instead of taking 18 turns like sailing will, it's only going to take 9 turns. So again, getting those boosts can really help. So found a city on the coast gives us a sailing boost. Farming a resource gives you a boost to irrigation. Meeting another civilization gives you writing a boost. So there's a lot of things that we can do here that are really going to be able to benefit our civilization just simply by exploring the world. That said, sometimes, depending on the world you're playing, you may not stumble upon a natural wonder on your continent. You may not find another civilization. You might actually be off in the equivalent of the Australia of the world, where there's just no other civilizations around you. So there's a challenge there. You're going to get these boosts. I think in general they've tried to do a pretty good job of balancing it, so you're not going to have these problems. But just be aware that there's some definite differences in how this has been crafted versus previous civs. Okay. Also, you'll see that it does show you on the right-hand side here. It does have a little bar showing you all the things that have happened during your turn. Or things that happened in between your turns. So that way you can go back and say, well, I lost a guy, what? And you can go figure it out. Or, oh, look, I found a natural wonder. Or, hey, I found a tribal village. Where's that? Yeah, so like I did last time. All right, let's head down this direction. We'll bring our Eagle Warriors down here. So you can see we've got a lot of minerals here. We've got some stone. We've got 3 things of cattle. We've got a thing of wheat. So we've got 2 things of wheat. And we've got some pearls out here on the edge. So these are going to impact the what are called amenities for the city. So if you click in here, you can see here I've got +1 amenities. As we develop as a civilization, the demand for luxury items, the demand for things that people like, that's going to increase, and we're going to need to have these options available to us, and trading with other civilizations is going to give us some benefits there. So we'll talk about that in a future video. All right, so I think we're all set. I'm actually going to cut it for here, and we're going to come back later on and we'll revisit where we are. I think we've got a pretty good start. We've got a couple more turns before we get our scout, and come back on the other side and we'll see how Montezuma and the Aztecs are doing in their new world. So we'll see you on the other side. Cheers.